go. Motto.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Everybody's back.
Everybody is back.
It's,
Thank you.
yeah, I'm now trying to get to a view that doesn't hide my my screen. Share. Yes. Okay. Joy, I'm just trying to get back to a view
Okay.
that doesn't. So can everybody see my screen?
Yes, we can see something saying, what if high performance didn't come at the cost of health?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So this last hour, we're going to be focusing on burnout and how we deal with it as leaders. So that that statement gets us into it's a leadership question, and it's about all the discussions we had in the first part of the presentation. And I have a story to share. 12th April last year, I went to a typical facilitation session for the program that I deal with the young professors, and I crashed my car, completely wrote it off. I'm here because I survived. And I remember events leading to this. I felt extremely, extremely tired. But I had to push on, as somebody said, we don't have alternatives. And nonetheless, I did the first session on the 11th, and then on the 12th, I think the body just couldn't anymore. How it is that I didn't crash this car in traffic is still a mystery to me. It's another presentation. But that's when I really realized that statement I made about sometimes we know what to do, but putting into practice challenges all of us is a story of burnout. Um, I'm trying to move this thing. What has happened is that I have hidden the view that allows for me to drive this presentation, um, which is a real, just give me 2 minutes. Um, I don't want to spend the rest of my life trying oh, there we are. So just quickly, what is it that we're dealing with? On the left top right corner of the presentation is a definition of burnout, which now the WHO has defined, and is a chronic workplace stress that is not successfully managed. That's exactly what it is. The lady that spoke, I can't remember, I think it was Phoebe, who says, but we spend all our times at work. And what does it, there's this mass like burnout inventory that actually helps us as leaders to know the signs for ourselves and those we work with when you're really reaching burnout. It's one, emotional exhaustion. Two, you become seriously cynical. It's like, you don't even know why you work here anymore. You find fault in everything. But the most important one that we miss is this reduced professional efficacy. You can see that people actually are not delivering as they used to. These are the three most important early signs of burnout. Cautionary tales here is that the signs of burnout can mask depression and other chronic illnesses of mental health. So to just be aware that all we are trying to do here is raise awareness about how you pick up the signs for yourself and others, but also be curious about whether this is more than just early signs of burnout. And the definition of chronic stress versus acute stress is this, that when it becomes chronic, it's there all the time. You just, this feeling drained absolutely all the time. It doesn't matter what it is you do, you continuously feel drained. And then, of course, it leads to all of those other things where we end up taking tablets for chronic diseases and etc., and mental issues. So these are very quick statistics that I'm not going to read. The point about it is to show that it has become such a serious issue, burnout, globally. And what it has done in the workplace is that it's beginning to impact performance and how people relate to each other. And then that final bullet point about executive burnout is often hidden behind high performance. Even last week, one professor says, but I have to push on. I can't because I'm teaching tomorrow. I'm marking papers. I'm doing all of this. If I sleep, I will, my performance will go down. It is an amazing statement to make, because we all sort of wear this not sleeping as a pride that if I sleep actually or stop my performance. It is actually the opposite. If you just incessantly keep working, your performance will ultimately come down. Again, I'm not going to get into the statistics. They are American, but it is to point that there are other factors now beyond the workplace, and to be aware of them, because all of us are addicted to news. The economy is affecting us. Watching, this, as I said, this is American stats, but they make the point. And if you watch any time at election time on the continent, that's also a contributory factors. The point is, there are lots more factors outside of the workplace that are beginning to impact on our chronic stress levels. So I'll spend a little bit of time so that we actually understand what we are looking as leaders for. So at the individual level, as I have said, it's fatigue, anxiety, you become withdrawn, you wonder about this person that used to be such a high performer, and then they start dropping things, low levels of motivation, increased errors, headaches, increased frustration, suspicion. So the body also starts responding by the physical symptoms that you feel like headache. Organizational level signs. What you see, and HR will tell you, they say, oh, our turnover is increasing. Nobody tells you they're burnout. They just leave. The quiet quitting, the absent from work, and then the environment becomes toxic, because people don't have any other way of coping with this amount of volume of work, and everybody starts really screaming at each other, and you don't know what's happening. For leaders, these are signs to say maybe we need to step in and see how we can do this. How people cope, which is truly unhealthy, is that we hit the bottle, we take other substances, and I've heard horror stories that people are taking even more serious addictive substances to cope. The sarcasm and negativity, you start really doubting yourself, poor health, physical health, and you just look around and you can see there is no time for personal care. People are becoming bloated and just unhealthy and all of that. And then the cautionary tales always says, it must serious clinical depression if we don't look out for people who are actually clinically depressed because of this. So in summary, this is a slide on leadership to say these are the signs we look for. I would like to stop here and get from people, not at table but individually. I'll give you a minute to read this, and please tell me if you haven't said to yourself one of these. Okay, how many of us have said at least one of these? Hello? Joyce?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Okay, I'm doing a sound check.
Okay.
Yeah, I can very clearly. Yeah.
They're saying they can't read this.
Are there any hands up? They can't. Can I just quickly read it? These are the lies we tell ourselves. I'm fine, I'm just tired. Should I continue? I'm happy to take more on. I love my job. You don't understand, no one else can do this. People depend on me. I really want to be helpful. I'll be fine once this is done. This too will pass. I need to get back to the top of my game, etc., etc. These are just things that we tell ourselves to carry on and push through the early signs of burnout. So I just wanted to just project this slide to say, at any one point, this is what we say to ourselves. Can I move on?
Yes, you
Right. So what has been the response? And I'm going to read this because Jennifer Moss is a Canadian that released a book about 2-3 years ago, and I found it fascinating. And she's beginning to address what it is that some of us around the tables talked about, that the typical organizational response is send you on vacation, and the higher in the hierarchy you are, the more expensive the vacation. You go off for 1 week, but what happens? You come back to exactly the same environment that is the same, that caused you a burnout in the first place, right? Is this true? So we tend to think of burnout as a problem we can solve with self-care, better breathing techniques, and more resilience and all of that. But evidence is mounting that applying personal solutions, it's really just like applying Band-Aid on a gushing wound. What needs to happen is that organizations must make and take the lead in developing an anti-burnout strategy beyond the standard EAP programs that almost every organization have, the employee wellness programs that we have. You need to understand that burnout is a workplace phenomenon. You need to create a workplace that allows for people not to be burnout. You can do the individual strategies, but the organization needs to create a culture that allows for people to be well. And that is the point she's making. As the pandemic has shown, self-care is important, but it's not a cure-all for burnout. We need to do more as leaders. So, as I have promised, I'm going to share what companies around the world are doing. And as I do that, please note down what it is. And we work in a different environment of NGOs. And I've already declared that I believe it might even be easier there than in bigger organizations to implement some of those things. So Microsoft Japan has implemented the 4-day week trial, and productivity went up 40%. We've had many other organizations that have done it, started this 4-day week, and research is being done to see actually, because when do you actually see family? So the current leave policies don't even start to address this thing. So the 4-day week is beginning to gather momentum. Volkswagen and many others have instituted this, what we call the email server blackout. So it's well and good to tell managers and leaders not to send emails at 2 a.m. They actually block the server. So yes, if you're not on your journey and you haven't started, it is not okay to be shipping off emails at 2 a.m. So the organizational server actually blocks the emails. So you'll see how specifically some organizations have done that, because we know that this is a behavioral problem. Some people just won't do it, and they will expect you to respond. Daimler, another car manufacturer, the mail on holiday strategy they have implemented deletes incoming emails whilst you're on leave. Everybody laughed about this one, that it actually automatically, if you send somebody an email knowing very well they're on leave, the server deletes it automatically. Google has this post-mindfulness internal well-being labs. Somebody has written an article about this, that it's well and good to do that, but be careful you're not keeping people at work for longer, pretending that you're actually looking after them. And then Deloitte, which is a fantastic organization that really looks into well-being research, have done many reviews, if many of you would like to go and see what they've done. So specifically, Volkswagen that we spoke about, the email server stops forwarding emails to staff 30 minutes after shift ends, and then it reboots 30 minutes before, so you won't get your emails. Specifically, I think the banks, the banks at 7 o'clock in the morning and then 7 p.m. Daimler, I've talked about the mail holiday system that auto-deletes. And then France as a country, and Australia has started this as well, have implemented this right to disconnect law in 2017 already. And it's an amazing thing because so you have organizational interventions, but countries are now instituting policies to demand of organizations to actually, allow employees to not send out or demand people to work beyond certain hours. So just other examples of country level interventions: Finland, the National Mental Health Strategy; the UAE, federal 4.5-day week again. I mean, this is messy times because these are very new policies and people criticize a lot of them, but I think I'm making a point about what people are beginning to do. Germany and France, as I've said, legal protection downtime. Scotland, the mental health first aider certification embedded in workplaces. This is specifically for first responder type people who work in the care environment. I would include NGOs here because of the type of work we do, that we need to look at how we can beef up our leave policies to recognize the type of work to do. And as you know, Australia last year also implemented the right to disconnect. So this I will pause and just to talk about how real people think these things are, especially the male server block in the workplace where they are. Let's hear some input.
We really appreciate for the male blocker thing. But the only thing that I've been thinking around that system is the challenge when some of the approval levels, for example, one of the approval might be maybe in US, I've traveled for a work-related issue, and the other ones are in the country, and we're having different working hours. While it's 2 a.m. there, here might be differently. Again, that one has its own limitation. So maybe we should just figure out, of course, we can use that one, we can adapt that one, but we can also look into the limitation component and see how better can they be navigated, or what system can we use based on our working content that will not affect the workflow. It's something that I've observed, and I think it's important to take a keen look at it.
Yeah, it's a very good point to raise, especially for international and global organization. If it is one time in East Africa and it's another time in New York, how do you deal with? But I think systems are sophisticated enough that first it is the policy, first it is the philosophy of we actually want to do this and implement it, and then think about the difficulty of doing it later on how to implement it. It's a very good point. Other inputs?
Thank you, Motho, for the presentation. But I'm wondering, the examples you give on how companies are responding to burnout, these are really big companies. Yeah. Taking them to our context, would you share maybe a similar response to our level, given to the struggle that we are currently facing when we think about localization, turning into social franchise? So this, for me, I really think they are really big companies. They can have such policies and they really work for them. But taking this into our context, how would it look like?
Thank you for the question. So I founded Joyce knows. I'm one of the founding members of Teach for South Africa, 17 years in operation. It's a tiny, incy little organization. Our country CEO is a woman who fully understands burnout. So we have decided we don't even have policies in place. We have your standard NGO policy of leave and all of that thing. But if you see how she operates in practice, it is totally amazing. When I talk about several things, we don't even do that. It is just a philosophy in this small organization that she will tell you, and she tells her small staff, nobody is sending anybody an email after 7. Do you know how quickly that gets implemented? Because who are you, the guy that's going to be sending an email to 5 people in the office when it has been discussed in the Monday morning meeting? You understand where I'm going with this? It's quickly. You're not even waiting for policy and all of that. It becomes a philosophy. This is how we do things in this place. We do not ask people to do work, because the nature of the work of NGOs is sometimes you are doing an activation somewhere at a school. You're working there on Saturday and Sunday. What will be discussed is that nobody comes to work on Monday. So these are examples to say how big companies are doing this. But I think what we are trying to encourage here is a philosophy that starts creating an understanding that we as leaders need to be very, very intentional about creating policies and environments that are psychologically safe for people to know that the CEO supports me not coming to work on Monday because I was at work on Saturday and Sunday doing an activation at a school. I don't know if that answers your question.
Maybe addition to what you've mentioned, there are some small organizations that have set time in terms of one, it really depends on the leader or the team itself on how first they organize and plan their work. That it means that during work hours, after work hours, there's no email coming up. So for example, my schedule most of the time is after 5, I will set my emails to be delivered by 8:30 to the rest of the team. However, it means that I'm not doing just to myself, because then I'm staying in the office until, let's say, 7, which the work hours past like 2 hours or 3 hours. So I love the idea where it pauses the sender and the receiver not to get access to send the emails before time. But also I think the more we work with our team to really value the work hours and really implement the task and activity within the work hours, then it's easier for the tasks to not to be carried out of the work. There was one partner who told me, if you see you are carrying your work or your team is carrying their work to home, it means we have time management issues. And I started laughing about it. But when you sit down and really look, maybe it's planning and prioritizing what we need and help the team as well.
Yeah. Can I add your significantly fantastic input? I was sitting with a team of leaders, again in the private sector. There were 6 executives around the table. And the females in the room, there were 2 males and 4 females. And one of them, it got to that stage where they were accusing the male boss. And she says, no, sir, I got an email from you on a Sunday afternoon at the soccer game of my son. How is it possible you're sending me an email on Sunday at 2 p.m. when I'm watching my son play soccer? And we discussed this issue about if we arrive at a place as leaders in 2025 of stopping to glorify work and carrying it as a badge of honor, you will see that the culture in the workplaces will become safer and even more high performance. We as leaders need to create those environments to understand that unless the world is falling apart and the sky is falling, sending somebody on a Sunday at 2 o'clock, what are you doing? I mean, really just like having those deep discussions about what are you intending to create as a culture in your organization. These are difficult leadership discussions about what we glorify in the workplace, I think. Can I move on? Because there's a video I would like us to watch.
Can I make one very brief comment? It's just a reflection.
Sure.
I appreciate all of this discussion. One of the things that I've been thinking about, and I think it's really concretized through the examples and the discussion you gave, is a question for me is, why is it that as an NGO CSO community that we often look to the private sector or the corporate sector as a model as a model for how we should be operating? I found it very foreign myself with our organization, how we have tended to organize. Certainly there are a lot of interesting things, but I would imagine that being the flexible, separate space that we've carved out through the NGO and CSO sector, there's a lot of opportunity to think about the culture of these organizations being very distinct and being separate from these other ones. And so I think that's something that as we are leaders, we should be thinking about. How willing are we to create a culture that exemplifies the goals that we have for the communities we're working with, as opposed to the type of culture of businesses and others that are looking to maximize some kind of profit.
Yeah.
That was just a reflection.
Profound. Absolutely profound. I think when I started, I don't know if you remember that I said I spent a lot of my time in the NGO sector. And I think we have the privilege of actually setting the pace on how workplaces can be remodeled. And when you search for these examples, one is surprised that they actually are being driven in the private sector. But nonetheless, I think they are there. But I think you've really said a very important question, which closes the question about really the privilege we have of being at the coalface of communities requires of us as leaders in the NGO sectors to set the pace on how workplace culture is created. Thank you very much for your input. So, another book. This one came out last year. And she basically there's an assessment embedded in this PowerPoint. And Joyce, I will send it because it's fantastic. It's a very quick 5-minute test on assessing yourself on how burnt out you are. What Candy Wines did, she's out in working with a team that works with Goldman, who works with emotional intelligence. And the lens she throws at this is a curiosity and a question she had about why is it in the same workplace there are people that don't get burnt out, is the question she asked. And then this book is really about burnout immunity and how you can develop it. We're back to the individual response to this incessant load of work. And she comes back and she has a little strategy she called AMA, and on how as individuals we can deal with this. But the core of this is raising your bar on your own emotional intelligence, but supported by leaders who understand that it is no longer okay to glorify work as if that is how you measure performance. And very quickly, the AMA and the A talks about awareness, recognizing your stress triggers and early warning signs of burnout and dealing with them immediately. And the M is mindset, your mindset shift from a fixed stress mindset, this is damaging me, to a challenge mindset, this can help me grow. Really just get into a higher level of being, where you are aware when you're getting stressed out, and then you lock into this mindset that actually this I can do, this I cannot do. And then your outlook, if you go back to the blue zones, you can see some of these things are interlinked. Cultivate a positive and optimistic perspective without ignoring reality, and this is really important. And then this establishing this level of resilience, developing habits that sustain energy and recovery. Much as these are individual things to do to develop burnout immunity, I think we remain at understanding that organizations have to help us do this, because you do not want to get fired if you have a boss that's not understanding yet or not far gone on their own journey of wellness to understand that this has become a leadership imperative. So, call to action at 3 levels. At the personal level is you must model sustainable habits. share personal strategies, and we've done a lot of that today. No meeting zones, sabbaticals, leaves, etc., etc., at a personal level. At a team level, be mindful of what shadow as a leader you do. And really, we know if you're telling people to rest and go home early, and you're the guy that's locking the office at 2 a.m. and coming back again at 6 a.m. in the morning, people are watching you. So be mindful what leaders shadow you're casting as you are saying something and doing the other. And then systemically, of course, is this move to try to include in your KPIs how you're doing by supporting your environment and your colleagues that you work with on and actually measure it as part of a reward system, protecting vacation time, establishing after hours emails, and all of these meeting rules. So these are some of the strategies. Okay, I think we have time. Can I pause here about burnout and what people are thinking, and really just to say thank you for the inputs that we received on how difficult this subject is, but also how easy it can be, because it's a human response. We as leaders need to initiate the actions. Any thoughts about that before we get into sleep? Okay, sleep. My middle name has become Sleep.
Excuse me.
Sleep because it.
Okay.
Sorry?
There is a reaction or maybe a clarification.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so I think for me, when you talked about burnout, you spoke about, different things perhaps, and what came out from the slide, and maybe you could clarify, maybe I got it wrong. Then you said it wouldn't be trying a little bit of this or the other. So, there was like, so if I feel like I'm burned out, I might do some, mindfulness, some, relax or take a vacation. So, but what I had is as if you need more, like, how do I undo it? So if already I recognize I have all these burnout things, what is the undo, And it said not a quick fix. Yes, so I didn't quite get what.
Yeah. Maybe that's, I think maybe that's where the difficulty and the confusion comes from. We are not throwing all the little micro steps of sitting in a quiet place, breathing, maybe taking a vacation or not that. First of all, we're acknowledging that that's originally how we responded to people that looked a bit like they're getting burnout in the workplace. We're acknowledging that that's well and good. But we're advocating for much bigger and deeper responses that whilst all of those things are important, continue doing them. We're not saying stop doing them. Continue sitting in a quiet place and breathing. Continue taking advantages, vacations. But we're saying add a little bit more. And the adding a little bit more is more a systemic response by organizations to say, whilst an individual is trying all of this, what are you doing to protect them so that they can continue doing all those micro things that they've been doing to help themselves? I don't know if that clarifies your question.
And I
Hello?
just wanted, yes. Sorry? Okay. She says it is clarified. And I just wanted
okay, sorry.
Can you hear me?
I can?
Yes. And I was saying there's something you said there in passing, but we've been talking a lot here about we lead the way we are. If you are staying in the office until midnight and you tell people, go home and leave me here, what exactly are you modeling? And so a lot of us are actually, what you are talking about here is happening, almost on a daily basis. And also, I just, I like the thing you are talking there about the emails. And, in one of the groups I was coaching, one of the person was saying, why are you sending me emails when I'm having dinner with my children? Why are you disrupting me? Why are you harassing me as a boss? So I think as leaders, it is different. So this point you are talking about modeling. We are harassing people in their offices without, kind of, and it has to be done. What has to be done? So I just wanted to make a point. I am seeing it every day, and me and many of us here are guilty of actually saying things are urgent just to get our egos things done so that we can get where we want to go, and we are punishing people and we are killing people. When leaders
Yeah.
don't do
I
the right thing.
I agree with you. I didn't say that, but a lot of, so I work with Anglo American, and 4 years ago they launched what they call the Living with Dignity Hub, and it was to deal with the cases of harassment at work. You said it, so I need to just close on that. That a lot of the cases where somebody reports to the center that was created by Anglo is about, usually but not always, leaders demanding of somebody that is a direct report to exactly do this. And then, without going deep into the psychology, we're increasingly seeing that you lead from the space where you are. So if you think, when I demand of you to drop everything and answer my email, you are leading from exactly that place of anxiety. And it is so common, and then it leads to harassment and shaming and naming people in front of others, and you realize, and Joyce, this was said in the conference we met, the AIF conference here in Johannesburg, about somebody says, we underestimate the work that has to be done for leaders to actually help them cope themselves with where they are. A lot of us lead from our own anxiety. And thank you very much for that statement, because I didn't want to be explicit about it, but you said it. A lot of us cause the problems that lead to burnout because we are leading from the space of anxiety that we feel as leaders. And the work has to start with us, of reflection, of emotional intelligence, of understanding why it is we do the things we do. Thanks. So I see that I really want to play this video, so I'll just skip this and see if I can. Oh, it isn't here, but no, it is. So Jennifer Ariana Huffington tells a story where she fell a few years ago and cracked her head, sort of opened up her skull on her way down, and it was around 2 in the morning. The long story short is she started this amazing movement of the sleep revolution, and everywhere she talks about this, everywhere she goes she talks about this, and it's an amazing thing to listen to her talking about her story of burnout. And she started this other organization about the sleep revolution, and she talks around the world to companies. She coaches C-suite executives to understand exactly how important sleep is. So alongside this, I have put some of the things that collectively with people who deal with sleep, how important it's sleep, but it's actually resting. Because physiologically, when you go through what the body does when it is in complete sync with nature, I always say to my children even, the sun rises in the morning and our body respond to that. When the sun rises in the morning, it's nature's call for you and your mind, your body to also wake up to do what it is that it needs to do. As the day goes, and then as evening sets, the sun sets, it is another call from nature to say we now need to slow down. Because the body, in rhythm with the circadian rhythm of nature, slows down in the evening as light darkens. It's a call to say we now need to go and rest. So that sleep gives us that peel for our bodies and our brains to lay back the neurons, the thinking caps, all of that it needs to do to repair. The mind repairs itself optimally during sleep in preparation for the next day when it rises again to think and to do what it is needs to do. The body rests during sleep to reconnect, to rejuvenate, to repair, so that it can respond to the next day's requirements of our thinking, our cognitive function to lead and to do all that we need to do to lead. And when we compromise that nature's excellence is that we start throwing out all the symptoms that we talked about earlier. We start being very gritty. We start shouting at people. We start being very, short with people. We start dropping things. We start having car accidents. And that's what the symptoms of lack of sleep are. So I've put here on this slide, and I know it's a difficult one to see, but I will just, the keys to good sleep hygiene is, we talked about them with the blue zones as well. It's amazing how everything that is good in our holistic way of life is connected. Is eating large, heavy meals before bed is a no-no. Getting and working with TV screens, screen time is a thing, and I know that technology companies have tried to minimize screen time. And to the best we can, because there are too many things to try to do all at once, choose one and start working with it. When do you actually stop looking at a screen? And I know the people in the room, I'm like, but I have a report that I have to write to finish. Work around yourself and your schedule to see how you can do this. The nap thing is for real. This weekend I was with this team, I said, and people were boasting about how they're doing that famous 17-minute, 20-minute nap in the afternoon. They just disappear and go and sleep. It's becoming a thing. Coffee and alcohol. Yes, people drink alcohol with their food and that, but you'll start beginning to feel that some of us really cannot drink coffee beyond 2 o'clock, and that's the recommended thing. But some people, because of our genes are different, can actually drink a very strong coffee afterwards. But this is about sleep. Coffee and alcohol interferes with our melatonin, the hormone that starts getting us to sleep in the afternoon. It goes up, and just be aware how your body reacts to that. Keeping the area and the bed, where the environment where you sleep dark, so that you're following that circadian rhythm, and making your area, sort of sanitizing your room where you sleep, such that it allows for your body to prepare and have a lovely sleep. Exercise, and then sticking to this routine. I haven't read all of them because I'm keen to go to Ariana and listen to her, because I actually maybe not, because we have now 5 minutes left. But again, the slides will be shared for you to have a look at. So in summary, therefore, I want to finish off by reading what Candy Wines has written. And I just found it such a profound statement to make, because these are high-performing individuals that have seen the need to actually do research and then write books that we are now enjoying, to try to deal with this issue of us moving away from this addiction to work and carrying it around as a badge of honor. And she calls it the deepest current. My worth isn't determined by how fast I move through life or how efficiently I navigate challenges. The people I love don't need me to be optimally productive. They need me to be genuinely available. When we stop fighting our way towards impact, a very famous NGO word, we create space for the kind of presence that actually changes things. What would change in your life if you learned to read your own water, to trust your natural rhythms instead of forcing yourself into someone else's current? To the question that was asked, why are we always looking to the private sector and its current? Thank you very much. Joyce?
Thank you, Moto. I don't know whether you could hear the claps here, for giving us a lot of
No, I
information.
didn't.
Yes, for giving us a lot of information. And the reason why I had wanted you here today is because what you are talking about is life-saving. It is not a joking business, although we tend to take it lightly, and it is in our culture to belittle big things like this one. And yet we are seeing around us the people collapsing, and then the next time you have advertised the post and you are getting other people.
Yeah.
The kind of leaders
Yes.
that are going to transform Africa, that are going to transform the lives of communities, are the ones who care and who think about the other people. And we must model this. It is leadership for social justice. So because logic appeals to me, and I like to hear from somebody who can actually give practical examples. We take a lot of time talking about this stuff with her, and I am guilty as charged, but I'm working on it. And so I think we cannot lead the way we need to lead unless we deal with this one epidemic that is killing us and killing our people. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming here, because we need healing. We need to change this, and we need to focus on our work. Our purpose isn't just to be really running around and showing what we are doing. We have to do things differently if we are going to lead. So I just want to thank you for your time, and I'm really hoping we will meditate and think about this more, and that is why we are talking about a different kind of a leader. We can do more, but we have to be more. We are not human doings. We are human beings, and we must demonstrate this. So from my people here and to you, from the bottom of my heart, I thank you most sincerely, and you are going to get a presentation as soon as we can organize ourselves. But I really speak from my heart that I want you to hold this as seriously as you can. Did you want to say something?
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you again, and we'll let you go, and we will continue thinking and talking about this, but I really have brought you here very deliberately and on purpose. And thank you for all the people online, my other people. I knew you didn't get a chance to listen to Moto, so that is why we invited cohort 1 and cohort 2 and the CBO team, and we are going to be doing these kinds of things on a more regular basis when we get ourselves organized. So thank you for starting us off on this cohort, the 3 cohorts, beginning to talk about the ills that are there and also moving forward. Asante sana.
Thank you. Asante sana.